And yes, it's unfortunate we're not going to get any Hot Wheel sets, or even as of the time of recording this, theme park exclusive merchandise of Donkey Kong in a Minecart.
Well, that didn't last real fucking long. What's up, members of the Peter Griffin household? It's your host with the most, Troublesome Junction, back at again with a video I am very, very excited for. As you can see here, it is the Donkey Kong Country, Donkey Kong in a Minecart toy. Now, I know most people want to come for the Thomas and Friends content, but fuck you, monkeys and minecarts are cooler. Now, if you saw my other video talking about Donkey Kong and Minecart merchandise, you would know that I was very disappointed with the initial launch of Super Nintendo World's Donkey Kong Country, a theme park add-on, and I didn't see any proper Minecart merchandise, despite the fact that the roller coaster is the whole center point is about these minecarts. But turns out they were cooking behind the scenes. I believe this is the Tomica line. I know that they have some Thomas and Friends merchandise that they've made of this line before, but they also have made some other things like Mario Kart characters to tie into Universal Studios Japan, and looks like they actually carried it over to also give us Donkey Kong and a Minecart, which I'm super happy about. I know I've mentioned this fact before, but Minecart action sequences were my odd hyperfixation when I was a child. That combined with rickety bridges and the actiony kind of peril, I blame Indiana Jones for this stuff. I genuinely love a little bit of Minecart madness. Pun entirely intended. And I vividly remember the two video games that I was first ever excited for them to come out were Mario Galaxy 2 for the Wii and Donkey Kong Country Returns. I know I'm probably going to show a little bit of my age here, but I remember back in the day when you could actually go on the Demand channel, and Game Explain actually had their own dedicated channel where they would showcase tips and tricks and also video game trailers and such. I remember the Donkey Kong Country Returns trailer. I would go on Demand and repeat that trailer over and over and over again, because not only Donkey Kong Country is like my favorite platformer ever, but also the minecart sequences, I was just like obsessed with them. I would try to recreate them and build them as Lego. You know, these are the moments when I wish I had like a phone or a camera when I was a kid, because I wish I had archived footage or photos of me building these elaborate rat trap type of roller coasters and stuff out of Lego and all of the above. It was to replicate not only like Indiana Jones, but also the minecart levels in Donkey Kong Country Returns. So I think that's enough ranting and raving of my odd hyperfixation. Let's actually talk about the packaging here. Now, as you can see, I've been holding the box like this, and there's a reason for that. I had just opened this today because it had came through the mail, and it was already open on this side. Now, I did have this imported from Japan. I actually ordered two of them from two different sellers. I feel that customs, when packages have to come into a different country or whatnot, I think they opened it to have to inspect it and whatnot, which, I don't know, that's a little disappointing, because, dog, I get that they have to, look for things like methamphetamine and pipe bombs, but it's a fucking monkey in a minecart, dog. This doesn't look like meth to me. Looking at the package here, you can see there's a really nice render of Donkey Kong in the minecart there. See the golden temple right here in the background, just like in the actual theme park. Of course, you have a nice picture of Donkey Kong in a minecart. Now, the thing is, whenever I look up pictures of this thing online, there is like no one who's taken proper pictures of this thing outside of like a handful of people on Instagram and also a handful of sellers. So it's really kind of exciting to get to show this in as good of quality as I possibly can. But turning over to the top, you can kind of see there just another picture, and then looks like some more Japanese right there. Turning around to the backs, as you can see down there, it looks like if you were to buy this from Universal Studios Japan, it would cost you 1,600 yen, which is, I want to say that's like 16 US dollars roughly, something around that ballpark. It is a very nice little box, but that's not the main part we want. We want the monkey, so let's open her up. Well, I guess someone in customs already did that for me. But opening up here, got a little cardboard flap there. Ah, there he is. There he is. It has been too long, my friend. We have waited. Oh, this is definitely die-cast. I can say that with confidence. This is a heavy SOB. He is very small. I will whip out the tape measure to just show you how big he is, but man, His side, don't let it discredit you. This thing is very, very heavy. So now we have a much better view of this. And if you compare it to the in-game model and also the amusement park actual cart, it is very, very accurate. It definitely looks more like the amusement park minecart as opposed to the one seen in Donkey Kong Country Returns and Tropical Freeze. But it is damn close to that one. So, you know, it's as good as it's going to get there. So as I said before, this thing is definitely die-cast. It feels like Donkey Kong himself, he is made of plastic, but the minecart is actually made of a nice die-cast. As you can see on the inside of there, it is all black, so there isn't like a fully molded Donkey Kong. It's just half of him, essentially. And I really love this pose here. He's holding onto the side of the minecart just like he does in Donkey Kong Country Returns. I love that so much. You see the headlights there are a nice cream color, but they aren't like transparent or anything like that. I mean, maybe if you're creative enough, you could drill holes and actually add in working headlights or something. I'm not going to be the one to do that. Well, I honestly, who knows? Maybe sometime down the line I actually might do that, because I would love to get like at least 5 of these things. If they're much easier to get, I will definitely be sure to pick these up by the mass. You can see the detail. It's very simplistic, but it's also, for where it needs to be, it's really good. The rivet detail, the big bolt, all very pronounced and cartoony looking. And then the wood texture on it is really, really nice. I mean, you could probably make the argument that maybe it should be slightly darker. It has like a very, how would you say, like a nougaty kind of color. The wood texture has kind of a light nougat color. And I do think, you know, for the most part of looking like the in-game model, I think it does a damn good job. It is really quite nice. The wheels down here, though, of course, they're not going to be game accurate because the ones in the game are like hexagons or octagons. They're very polygonal and you know, cartoony looking. But yeah, so they look like little beads in all honesty. But they do have pinwheel axles here, so of course it can roll and whatnot. But as I did mention before, this is a very, very small thing. Clocking in lengthwise, it comes in at a length of around 1.5 inches. We'll line it up there, and it's just a little bit, yeah, I'd reckon it's dead on the money for 1.5 inches. And then in terms of width, it's about 1 inch, as you can see there. And then height, really not impressing anyone who wants a man over 6 foot, I guess. But he clocks in at about, I would say, to the top of Donkey Kong's head, about 1.5 inches, it looks like. So really, really not the biggest thing out there. And I actually do have some other Donkey Kong in a minecart merchandise to compare it to. Here is the other Universal Studios Japan Donkey Kong in a minecart that came with the Happy Meal, you know, tie-in that they were doing. But also this one is custom painted. I gave it a silver paint job and then painted the wood texture in the back just to make it look a lot nicer. And then this over here is Donkey Kong in a minecart from Donkey Kong Country TV show, where I believe it was also Tomy that had the license to that as well, or Takara. They made a lot of merchandise for that show. I know that it's, you know, become a joke and a punching bag of a show. It's not the greatest thing out there, but I'm really happy that show happened. Controversial opinion. I think it's goofy, I think it's silly, and the merchandise, man, the merchandise is so good. Donkey Kong Country really didn't get a lot of merchandise, but that TV show definitely helped with a lot of that. And then I gotta kind of back the camera up a bit for the last one. I actually have an even bigger Donkey Kong in a minecart. I believe this is also made by Takara. It says Nintendo down there, but it is the battery-operated Donkey Kong in a minecart. He's very, very big. This is made to actually tie in with the original Donkey Kong Country game over in Japan as well. And it came with this little funky remote here, so you can make it go forwards, backwards, and even the headlamp down here turns on. But yeah, you can definitely see that we've come a very long way from the old down to the new, and you can see the dramatic scale problem we're having here. So I think the best comparison would probably be these two down here, since they're the ones that I would say capture what they're aiming for the best. Now, in terms of detail, the Tomy one absolutely wins. It is no questions about it. It's made of die-cast. You know, it has painted detail, a better molded Donkey Kong with a nice matte finish and whatnot. This isn't a proper representation because this was just molded in dark gray plastic. and I just painted it because I wanted it to look nicer. Has sticker detail. Now this, I'm not going to deny it. Like this, I'm really happy that this also exists because, hey, more Donkey Kong and Minecart merchandise. But comparing the two, I think this one definitely takes the cake. But this actually has one thing I do prefer, and that is its size. I think size-wise, this is about what I would have wanted out of this, because I just think that having a more sizable, tangible thing would have been better. And even using it on, you know, different types of tracks. Because if you know from the Donkey Kong Country game, hell, even the ride, you know, it's not a very smooth journey. It's very, you know, mine carts are jumping between tracks, going up, down, all around. So I've instantly thought the best thing to use for these would be Hot Wheel track. As you can see here, the Donkey Kong, you know, McDonald's toy, it fits just fine, and it has this little rollers down here. That's probably the only detriment, but you could go through and drill a hole in here and give it like proper axle wheels and whatnot. But this is about the size that I think, yeah, that's good. But this on Hot Wheel track, though, it is very, very loosey-goosey. Unfortunately, you know, there isn't really a track system or anything for you to use these on. Like, if you've seen the Lego Donkey Kong Minecart playset, I want to do something like that, but for this scale. I've even made other things, like, here's a Snaggles that I made. He's a little bit big compared to him, but, you know, I want to make it so that, oh, he has a play feature, he can jump out in between the tracks to try and knock Donkey Kong over. I also have my favorite board game ever, Forbidden Bridge. As I mentioned earlier, I really like, you know, not only Minecart Peril, but also Rickety Bridges. And I have several of these Forbidden Bridge sections here. I can actually throw on a second one there. Boom. You know, I want to put some tracks across these things and make like a very, you know, crazy, like basically make a real life playset for Minecart Madness. I think that would be awesome. So unfortunately, if you do want to use Hot Wheel track, you can technically use it, but this thing is going to be sliding and slipping all over the place. But there is another track system that I really want to try that I honestly think could work for this. Okay, so Hot Wheel track might not be the best fit for this Donkey Kong right here, but there is a track system that I consider my go-to track system, the definitive track system to ever exist for all toy trains. I have used this in countless videos and recreation of Thomas episodes. I use this to find a track system that works with the Diapet Thomas line. Hell, I even gave Leo Kim Video the idea to use this track system in his Thomas Minis video. And you all probably know what this is if you come from the Thomas and Friends side. It is Power City Train Track, made by Jack Pacific. This track system has seldom let me down. And seeing as how small this guy is, I really have high hopes that it can work on this track system. So, without further ado, let's see it. Alright, just barely. I mean, he technically does work on it though, but as you can see, I'll kind of line it up a bit here. As you can see, when I line it up to try and fit in the grooves there, I can't get both wheels to fit inside of that. However, it technically does kind of work if you want to be technical, but you are going to get slippage and slidage. So this thing, even on the track system that works with so many obscure Thomas and Friends lines, Ertl, Diapet, Nakayoshi, Bandai Tech, like all of that kind of stuff, man. Like this track system, it's so good, and if you can get your hands on some of this, I couldn't recommend it enough. It's great stuff. But unfortunately, it looks like the thing that's supposed to be on rails will probably have to be without rails for a while until I can find a nice substitution to use. As of current, I'd say your best bet is Hot Wheels, because although it's very loose and wobbly, it still fits on the thing, and it's not gonna flail off because it fits within the flanges on the side. Something like Power City Train Track, if I were to make a Minecart Madness out of this, it would definitely, because mind you, I want to add jumps and bumps and all of that. So it's going to inevitably come off of the rails. So I would say if you want to use something for this, maybe you could spray paint the track so it's not a vibrant, hot orange color to maybe make it look more like a wood texture or what have you. But it is a bit unfortunate that Donkey Kong here is currently without rails. But nonetheless, I could not be happier to own this guy. I have waited years and years of my life. If I were to go back in time and tell second grade me, hey, there's gonna come a day where that minecart that you tried to build countless times out of Lego, you're gonna have a tangible toy of it when you're in your 20s. I would have been ecstatic. So, although it might not have tracks here, I can't express how happy I am that this not only exists, but to own it in the first place. So if you're able to get your hands on this and you're as much of a fan of Donkey Kong Country Returns as me, I spent roughly, for one of them, I ended up paying $27 for, but then the other I paid like $30 for. So really just shop around. You could probably find this thing for around $30, including free. A lot of the listings I saw had free shipping, but getting this thing imported, if you're a big fan and it works within what you want, I couldn't recommend this enough. We might end up getting this here in the US.
As of the time of this video going up, it's July 2025, and there is still no Minecart merchandise in the US, even though Donkey Kong Country Land is over here now in Epic Universe. And if you ask me, that is fucking bullshit. Like, the main attraction to your land, you can get a bunch of overpriced hoodies and hats and little tumblers with printouts and shit of it. Oh no, but you can't have actual tangible minecart toy. That is so stupid. I know for a fact that we could have gotten like a Hot Wheel. Even if they made it theme park exclusive, I would still go out of my way to buy that shit. And I know other people would too. I just think it's so stupid that all the cool stuff, we have all of this awesome theme park, but America just gets the short end of the stick when it comes to awesome merchandise. First the Toku Mario figure, now this shit.
So, that's all I gotta say for this video. Thank you all so much for watching. I know this really isn't like my traditional type of video. I know most people want Thomas and Friends stuff, but I'm not going to turn down the opportunity to talk about essentially my childhood toy right now. Even though I may not have had this as a child, this still is a monumental landmark in the troublesome junction history, mythosphere, whatever you want to call it. That's all I got to say for this video. If you liked it, be sure to leave a like, comment, and subscribe. Let me know, are you happy about the Donkey Kong Country land opening in Universal Studios? Do you want to ride the roller coaster? What do you think about the merchandise? I actually have bought the Rambi piece of merchandise as well. That's eventually going to get here at some point. But, there's so much really cool boogie they got over there. I'm really happy about it, but let me know what you guys think. So that's all I got to say for this video, so I'll see you guys on the flip side.
Spent an ass! Spent an ass! Yes! Spent an yes! Spent an yes!